We have a sample here of a stop mortise and tenon, and we're going to reproduce this using our material. So what we've got here is the leg, and we're going to measure down 20 mil at the start, and then that's where the rail actually starts from the 20 mil, and measure down to the bottom there, and that's going to indicate how wide the rail is from the leg. And we just get a tri-square hard up against the edge, run a line across those 2 points. Now we get a visual of exactly where the rail is going to go. So we're going to measure now 11 mil in, and that's from the face of the leg to the centre of the rail. So we get a marking gauge, run a line across those 2 points. So once you've lined that in, we need to draw another line on the other side, coming from the same face. We need to measure in 19 mil, and that's going to give us the gap between the other line where the mortise and tenon fits in. And you'll see when I go from the same face, it's going to produce that gap that we see there, like that. Put a pencil line in there, and we can see now that's where the mortise and tenon is going to fit. From the rail side, we need to come from the end 25 mil, placing a pencil line at that point, using a tri-square and just running a line across the face there and across the edges, making sure that those lines match up and that there's no step. Just very carefully do it, and right across the other side there, and it should hopefully those 2 points will line up as well. Measuring in 6 mil, this is going to be the tenon side where it comes in 6 mil. We place that from the face side, and we're going to mark on the edge right across the face there and along the edge there, and we're going to do the same on the other side. And this is creating our tenon here, and you'll notice, see how it creates those 2 parallel lines. And if we get a pencil running it through there, we can see it very clearly. And so what we're going to do is cut those sections out. And so using a tenon saw, we just place it into the corner, and just inside the line, just work along across that line, across the face. Again, making sure that you don't go past those lines at the bottom there, and just ease it across the face there, checking, making sure that you haven't gone too far past those lines. And then we do the same thing on the other side. And now we need to cut the top edge, and we need to put it on a slight angle here. Again, we need to cut from the top corner there down to the cut section that we've done on the face side, and we just carefully cut this, making sure that we don't go past those lines, that it is a nice straight cut, because this is where it's going to be fairly visual if we don't get this right. And we do the same on the other side, just cut down to that bottom line there and to the bottom corner, and then we finish off on the other side, running all the way through down to the groove, and then that section should just fall out. And then you do the same thing on the other side. Again, nice and carefully. Just take your time when you're doing this. And then if it's not quite cleaned up nicely, just pair it across the face there, across the grain, and just pick up any bits that are not very flat, and especially in the corners, making sure that there's no bits of timber left in there. and making sure that you only go to the line and you don't go any further. And then come back from the other side and do the same thing again. So just make sure you place it in the vise a little bit higher than the vise is, and just again, just carefully push it through across the face there, not to go too deep, and to make sure that everything's flat and square, and any bits of timber that's caught up in the corners, make sure you just chisel those out as well. And then you do the same thing on the other side. Make sure you clean it up so it's nice and square and clean. Make sure it's tight in the vise so it doesn't slip. And especially those little bits in the corner there, very important to chisel those bits off. You need to just take your time here. There's no rush here. Now, the next thing you need to do is on the leg side, you need to drill the hole so the tenon can actually fit in to this mortise. So using the horizontal drill, we drill to the center of this line and we drill in to 27 mil deep, and we just run it carefully along those lines. So we're going to do a series of holes along there, making sure that we're right in the center of that, and we are. Just drill all the way through, blow a lot of that material away as you go. Do the same thing, so you could do doing a succession of holes along here. But you've just got to make sure that all that material is blown away as you do this. And there we are, we're doing a few more. Once you've done that, we're going to clean up by running the drill across all those holes. Now you've got to be very careful not to go too deep when you do this. You just come in a couple of mil or 5 mil and you keep doing it until you get right to the bottom of that. And then you just square up the corners, getting a chisel, making sure that you don't go past those lines. Just cut it, just bring the chisel just 0.5 mil inside that line, chisel down and make it all nice and square. And do that on both sides of the timber. You just take your time here. And once you've cut the corners out, then you can start cleaning out the edges here. But the important thing is here that you don't go past those lines. So you just, with a nice sharp chisel, just put it just inside the groove there. Just pare away on the sides there. Just very, very carefully. You can see how I'm just paring away there. And notice that I'm using a wide chisel here, not a small little chisel, because you won't get a nice flat, even surface if you do with a small chisel. And then you just clean out the excess, just pop it all out. Test it, see if it fits into the mortise there, and it does, and that's the end of the mortise and tenon joint.